Hey there, and welcome. I'm Anna Hartman, and this is Unreal Results, a podcast where I help you get better outcomes and gain the confidence that you can help anyone, even the most complex cases. Join me as I teach about the influence of the visceral organs and the nervous system on movement, pain, and injuries, all while shifting the paradigm of what whole body assessment and treatment really looks like. I'm glad you're here. Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Unreal Results podcast. Here we are. I'm at home. I've been on the road for a couple weeks. 3 weeks. I don't even know. It all blends together. And I'm happy to be in my house. San Diego is I heard when I was gone, the weather was not great. A lot of gray and rain. But since I've been back, it's rained overnight and in the morning, but then by noon cleared off and it's a beautiful sunny day. Very spring vibes. So I'm here for that. And then also my plants are exploding right now. I had cut some plants and made starts of a couple plants, and wow. The 2 weeks I was gone, or however long I was gone, I have 4 or 5 new leaves on my fiddle leaf, 2 new stems and multiple leaves on my rubber tree. I've got new leaves on my wax plant. I've got my fiddle leaf start I created, rooted a ton. My Adrificus rooted a ton. Even my corn plant rooted. So many starts. My monstera that I cut has big old roots. So it's it is growth season, my friends, for the plants. And actually it's funny because I went to Sacramento to take care of my sister for a little bit. Well, take care that she's fine. I went for a couple days to help her out, to do treatment on her, and then just help her out because kids are hard. A puppy is hard. Life is hard. And I hadn't been there in a while, so I wanted it to go. Anyways, I had encouraged her to cut back her fiddle leaf that was kind of dying and just not happy. I had her cut the healthy leaves off of it and create a start from it, and then cut the main plant down to just a stick. And that is going crazy for her too. And so I was jealous until I got home and I saw how all mine were doing too. And it was just confirmed that this is the time of year. This is growth season, baby. I'm ready for it. And I'm it's all I can do to not go to the nursery and buy more pots and buy more plants and I calm down because I leave town tomorrow. So not the best time for me to do all this yard work. And because that's the thing too, in my yard, my jasmine is just blown up and has got so many buds. It's gonna again have a year of just smelling so good. Last year was the first year that I really bloomed crazy, and it was so cool because there were so many blooms on it. It's right in front of my living room window, and so I was able to open the window, and the aroma in my whole house from that plant in the yard was so good. Literally one of my favorite things. Hard to beat it. So anyways, springtime vibes, I'm here for it. Like I said, tomorrow I go out of town. I'm headed to Nashville for a business thing with my strategy and scale business group with that Jill Fit team. And looking forward to seeing my business besties and having some fun in Nashville. I've been a lot. If you're new here, maybe you don't know, but one of my athletes that I used to travel with for 7-8 years, he played for the Tennessee Titans. So I literally would go to Nashville every single week of football season and then multiple times throughout the rest of the year. And if I'm being honest, it's not my favorite place in the world. I am one of those weirdos that actually don't really like Las Vegas. I called it Las Vegas. I don't like Las Vegas either. So no surprise, I don't like Nashville. Because Nashville, Broadway is a combination of Las Vegas and Times Square and maybe even New Orleans, Front Street. Just not my vibe. I love all the music. I do love the music. I just don't love what comes with that. And also feel very Californian in Nashville, even though there's so many transplants there nowadays. You would think it was more liberal, but it's not. Not at all. So it's just not my vibe. I also, the weather sucks. There's like literally one good month of the year, and I think it sucks the rest of the time. And then even in that good weather time of year, there's like ticks and stuff. Like, ugh, it's just annoying. Anyways, this was not indigenous shit on Nashville. I am looking forward to the trip because of the people. We're going to the Grand Ole Opry. Super pumped for that. I've actually never been in all the times I've gone to Nashville. I've been to the Ryman. I actually saw Garth Brooks at the Ryman do a like acoustic show. You know, for those of you who don't know what the Ryman is, it's like country music church. It was actually the Grand Ole Opry before the Grand Ole Opry moved to a bigger location. The Ryman has like 1,200 seats, and it literally is a church, or at least it feels like a church. The seats are like wooden pews, and so I on a whim one day when I was on an extended trip for my football player there. Normally I would only be there for 2 days, and it was after the game. I came in early so I could go to the game. So I had like an extra couple of days. I just happened to see on my SeatGeek app that Garth Brooks was in town at the Ryman, and there was tickets available. And so I was like, oh, total last minute, bought a ticket for like $850, which is a lot, but 100% was worth it. It was one of the best experiences ever. So I really enjoyed that about Nashville, that you can like do that on a whim. So Grand Ole Opry will be fun. Seeing my friends will be fun. Seeing my athlete will be fun. I haven't seen him for maybe 2 years. Like, kind of crazy how long it's been since I've seen him. He retired, and I've not seen him. And so I am like super pumped to see him and his family, his wife, his kids, and hopefully have dinner with them, because they have a chef, and I think that's the best food in Nashville is actually the food that he cooks at their house. So I'm looking forward to that. Even if I don't get food, I'm still going to be looking forward to visit with them and see the kids. I'm sure they're going to feel so grown up. But I'm actually really pumped for that. So I hope it works out. And then after that, I head back to the East Coast, help my athlete out. And then eventually I'll come back home. And hopefully I won't miss all that blooming of the jasmine and the springtime vibes. But I also heard from my whale watching crew that I might be able to, not be able to, I might be helping out on the boat more this summer for blue whale season. And I am super pumped about that. So I'm sure you'll hear all about it. Anyways, this podcast episode, what the hell am I talking about? It wasn't just like, oh, I know what I'm talking about. I remember now. I'm like, it wasn't just an update of life, though I felt like I was overdue for that. I do have a topic. I actually have 2 topics. And if I'm being honest, I already recorded like 20 minutes of a podcast and then decided I didn't want to continue it, and I didn't like where it was going, and so I deleted it. So this is take 2 with a different topic. And the topic is acute back pain. And the reason we're talking about this is because 2 people in my life recently had hurt their back. You know, their back, quote unquote, went out. I hate that. When people tell me that something went out, I'm like, oh, really? Where did it go? Your back's still in you. It doesn't go somewhere. So anyways, but you know what I mean when I say the back went out. So 2 people that I know, their back went out. One was one of my athletes, and one was a colleague of mine. And so the colleague, like immediately when she did it, she like called me like within minutes after it happening, and she was in excruciating pain, and she was like, oh my God, I'm so glad you picked up, which also for like that in itself is kind of a miracle that I picked up the phone. I never answer the phone. So, but I picked up, and I'm so glad I did because I felt terrible for her. And she like was like, I think I just had an annular tear of my disc. And she's like, what should I do? I know you've been here before, and I trust you, and I don't know how to navigate this. And I was like, ooh. And then not even like 10 days later, I was with one of my athletes, and he was lifting, and literally all of a sudden, like was doing a lift and like did one movement, dropped the weight, and then looked at me, and like just his knees buckled, and I was like, are you okay? Like, what just happened? I was like, did you pull your hamstring, or did you like get shot? Like, I'm not sure what happened. And he's like, my back. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, was it a zinger? And he was like, yes. And I was like, oh, disc. And so, just navigating that too, I felt like, you know what? I've done podcast episodes on my journey with my back, and I'll have Joe link those in the show notes. I did like a 3-part series on my whole thing with my back. And then I did another episode about like what I would do if my back went out today, like how I would navigate that. And so I'll make sure Joe links those 4 episodes in the show notes. But I just kind of wanted to reiterate it. And I don't remember what I said on that, what I would do if this happened to me today. And so I'm sure some of what I'll tell you today probably coincides with it. But I also was like, I think it's important to say, and a reminder to people. And then also to highlight, like, man, this is what, I love. Obviously, I'm a biased opinion because I'm going to tell you how much I love the LTAP, the Locator Test Assessment Protocol, in times like these, and or my general listening ability in times like these, because it gives, it adds to the appreciation that the body is, the way it reacts after an injury like that is exactly how it's supposed to, and exactly what you need. I'm going to repeat that. The way your body reacts after an injury like that, right? After your back goes out, the pain, the spasming, the body telling you to stop what you're doing, like all the things that the body does in response is exactly what it needs to do for you in that moment. Your body is the smartest person in the room. Its reaction to something happening to it is so much smarter than anything I would do for it. And oftentimes this concept of like, oh my gosh, I hurt my back and I'm in so much pain, there's this thought process of, I need to get out of pain and I need to fix this as soon as possible. And I don't disagree with that in terms of like, it fucking sucks. And there's nothing that is more debilitating and more depressing than acute low back pain of a discogenic nature. However, once it happens, it can't unhappen. You can't reverse things. So you sort of have to just like let it run its course a little bit. And the more you try to resist that, the more you try to force yourself out of that response, the worse you're going to feel. And it's not helpful. And so, that was sort of my biggest advice from my colleague that called me, and my athlete was like, listen, you need to do, like, the best thing for you is sit your ass down, in terms of like, find a position that your body is not painful in, which is challenging at first sometimes in this scenario, and like just take a beat. Like, take a beat. Like, your body is like, hold on. We need to like figure this out. You could also just walk. Walking, the act of walking is very nourishing for the discs and for blood flow and for lymphatic flow. And so if you can walk, walk. Sometimes keeping moving often feels the best, but then sometimes just sit your ass down, right? So it's a little bit of like, oh, how do you know which one you're going to be? You don't. You see how it feels. And this is a real big lesson in listening to your body and not forcing it, right? So you listen to your body, you try to walk it out, and if that doesn't feel right, you try to find a position of rest, of repose. You might need bolsters, you might need different, pieces of furniture, you might need assistance. All of that is okay. And like, let it happen. And so what happens, right, is your disc, you get a zinger. It is this like very sharp, intense, and then this zinging feeling. And then all of a sudden this feeling of like you can't load your spine. And I don't mean load your spine like with weight. I mean like your body cannot be on top of your spine in terms of like you're try to avoid it by hunching over or extending or laterally shifting or side bending, whatever it may be. Let it happen. Meet it there. Okay. And sometimes meeting it there, you might like some reflexive stability with it. And so I actually am like, okay, like try to grab a bag and hold it on one side, hold it on the other side, hold it in front of you, hold it behind you. See if any of that makes you feel better. If it does, great. Now you know where you need to hold that weight to counter or to help create some reflexive stiffness in your spine. Sometimes it's a hard no, that doesn't make anything feel better. So then you don't need to hold it, right? And then everybody's different. Some people feel better sitting. Some people feel better lying on their back. Some people feel better lying on their front. Some people feel good on their right side. Some people feel good on your left side. Most of the time, everyone, when it's a disc like this, whatever position you find yourself in that makes it is comfortable to rest in, when you go to move, when you go to change position, there will be a 5 to 10 minute period of excruciating pain as the disc drains its hydration, because when we are resting, our discs fill back up with fluid. And so sometimes then when we stand back up and then gravity starts to squish that disc and the fluid drains out, that is excruciating pain because the fluid is very chemotaxic. Not chemotaxic, very I'm not sure what the word is, but it's like very irritating, right? It's a chemical irritation to the nerve root, and that can be very painful. But it goes away, as like time sets in. This is also why often first thing in the morning for people with like internal disc derangement, first thing in the morning is pretty painful because it takes some time. Your discs are so rehydrated from laying down overnight that it takes time then in the morning, about an hour, to fully drain them out again and feel more comfortable. Now, obviously every disc is not a herniation. Every discogenic back pain is not a herniation. It could be in every, like, the word herniation is like, what does that even mean, right? You could have a prolapse, you could have a and the prolapse could be central or lateral, anterior, posterior. It could be a herniation, or it could be an extrusion. Extrusion is like disc material has like squeezed out and is on the nerve root, or you can have a combination of all three. And it's really hard to sometimes tell the difference. And so obviously, like the first important thing with any injury or like rehab, right, is like decrease pain, decrease swelling. So same thing goes here. And then the next thing is like to assess the situation and like how bad is this? Like how significant is this going to be? Is it significant? Like, do you have motor loss? Do you have sensory loss? Do you have a reflex loss? Right? What is your nerve root capacity? And then also, what is driving this is a good place to start from a treatment standpoint. Traditionally, I'd say when somebody comes in and like, oh, I hurt my back, make me feel better. If they get any manual therapy, the massage therapist or the manual therapist, whether it be a physical therapist or an athletic trainer, whoever, or chiropractor, whoever it is, oftentimes they do deep tissue on the muscles that are spasming to protect the area. And what happens is they feel better for a second, but as soon as they get off the table and that segmental instability is unstable again, they tighten back up and sometimes feel even worse. So it's like the last thing I tell people to do is actually the first thing I tell them is whatever you do not do deep tissue to the hips and the low back and the muscles that are tightened up to protect the disc. Let them do their thing. The muscles, the joints, but the muscles especially are bodyguards to the body. They're bodyguards to that disc. Let them do their job. Let them do their job. So, that's like, I always tell people immediately. So that's like the most important thing, right? Like to not break that protective response. Like you want that. Set yourself up that you're meeting the body where it's at. Don't block that protective response. Then obviously you've done the assessment to make sure there's nothing that you need to refer, right? Like no motor weakness, like loss of bowel and bladder control, like those kind of like more emergency things. And then it's like, okay, like, so what do we do? I already said, like, meet the body where it's at. First things first, just like see if you need to sit your ass down or keep moving. And then the next day, like I would let a whole day go by before I'm going to actually do treatment to try to make things feel better. In the 23 years of my career, every time an athlete has come in immediately, like off the weight room floor or off the field with a discogenic pain like this, any treatment that I've tried to do on them has not helped. It's like literally just been painful for them and not helpful. I sometimes, if I have access to a pool, I'll just tell the athlete, like, just if you get in the pool and, move your body around as long as it feels good. Like the pool is like such a great friend with a flare up here. But at the end of the day, like it's fine for like a day to just rest. Like sit your ass down, let your body do its thing. Then maybe we'll talk about treatment. And that's what I want to talk about now. And going back to yes, I have a biased opinion, but the beauty of the LTAP is that when you have an assessment that can ask the body what it wants and do treatment there, it's never going to lead you to a treatment that is going to make things worse. And that is a wonderful thing. So for obviously my friend who called me, my colleague who called me, we don't live in the same town, so I wasn't able to help her. But with my athlete who I was with, it's like I went through the same thing. I say, hey, listen, bro, like I wish there was something I could do for you right now in this moment because it sucks. And all I can tell you is I've been there and it sucks. And like, let's try to meet your body where it's at. And like, so we walked for a little bit and it did seem to help. But then it was also like, he's like, I just need to like not move. And I'm like, that's fair. Let's find a position that you can rest in and just like let your body do its thing. And then the next day, then I was like, okay, now I can do assessment on you. It's again, like he doesn't feel good, can barely move. And it was like, first things first, like, can I find a position for you on the table that I can still do the assessment and you're going to be comfortable? And so that was like, what kind of pillows, pads do we need? How do I need to help you onto the table? Can you even get onto the table? Can you be on your back? Can you be on your front? Can you be on your side? Once I find that, then I do my assessments from there. And those of you who've gone through the LTAP, or at least part of the LTAP with the missing link, you might be like, well, then how are you supposed to assess their SI joint? If you can't, if it's not a good test, and if not being able to get in the right positions would be a reason, then we just move on to the next test, because we'll still get very valid information. And those tests you can do in any position, and they're very, very gentle. And so that's where we start. Luckily, he was able to lay on his back on the table, so it was great. I didn't move him around a lot though, and I made sure that he stayed comfortable, because meeting the body where it's at is the first step to make it feel safe, so that I have a better chance of actually helping. And then sure enough, on him specifically. So, and then this goes back, like everybody's going to be different on what their body is presenting at them that moment in time, of what treatment the body thinks is going to support helping their back. This could be the original driver that led to the incident in the first place, or it might not be related at all. It might just be a way that the body is like, okay, I'll let you in this way to peel back this layer of protection pattern that I was dealing with that is preventing me from focusing on the disc or focusing on whatever. So for this specific athlete, at first, when I worked on him, he had a central nervous system tension, a little something going on in his neck as well. So I treated that first, and then that brought his pain down. And then the next thing was he had a little bit around like his liver and his colon. So I treated that next, real gentle, treated his diaphragm. His diaphragm, as you could imagine, was very splinted. It was one of the muscles that was protecting his back. I did a very gentle first visceral treatment on those organs, and then I followed up with a very gentle diaphragm treatment. I was especially gentle on the diaphragm thing because since it's a muscle and I knew it was involved in the splinting, I didn't want to completely get rid of that response. And then we reassessed, and just with those two real gentle treatments, he was moving around on the table easier. His pain subjectively decreased, and then his sensory disturbance, his dermatome that was affected, improved as well. And so then I was like, okay, let's decide where we're going to go next. And the next thing we did was, because I did some manual therapy that could have compromised his protective response around those discs, I opted for, I also treated the disc itself. You may or may not have the skill set to do that, but it felt appropriate. The body was like directing me there. It didn't seem to not like that. So I did that as well. But then since I did all of those manual therapies, which could have also destabilized this protective response, I followed it up with some exercises to facilitate some reflexive stability, some deep hip flexor strength, because the hip flexors are often a protector of the discs as well. Some breathing exercises more aimed at diaphragm mobility, because a nice, well-functioning diaphragm also helps to support unloading the discs as well as protecting them from a stability standpoint. So we did those, and then that was it. Did he go from like a level, like a 6 out of 10 pain to a 0? No. He like literally herniated a disc. That would have been an unrealistic expectation. But he did go from a 6 to like a 3. And then he went from barely able to move to like move around pretty good. And so that was it. But I knew that because it was so acute, we didn't do like specific movement at those segments yet. We did things around that. And that is, I think on the last podcast episode with the back, I probably talked about the like stages of rehab. The first stage of rehab in an acute disc thing is like, don't move the area that you just hurt. Like let the protection pattern be there. Let the splinting happen, and like just honor the things that are happening there and work around it. And so, we did stuff in the thorax, we did stuff in the hips, and then we just left the center on its own. And then the next day, he woke up feeling even better. And then he was moving around better. His dermatome numbness was very minimal, if at all. And then we were able to then progress to the second stage of rehab, which was controlled movement through the area of the lesion. And again, we let pain be the guide. And then we built on our exercises from there. It was in that moment, I was like, oh man, thinking back to all the times that I've had incidences like that with my back, I'm like, man, I would have loved to have the ability to do treatment, have treatment done by someone that had the same skill set as I do. Because I like watching him and watching this progression. I was like, man, this is probably, honestly, of all the athletes over the, my 23-year career, that was probably the best treatment response I've gotten in such an acute disc thing. And it is, again, because I'm applying all these principles that I've learned that works from my own experience with my back, but then also these principles that work for any injury in the body that the LTAP teaches us, that the LTAP gives us the techniques for and gives us this lens of view for, of like, the body is the smartest thing in the room. Let it do its job. It has the ability to heal itself. And it works much better when we don't get in the way and try to force it to what we think it needs. So instead, we ask it what it needs. And we maneuver with the idea in our head that the spasm, that protection pattern that the body is creating in response to this disc irritation is not a bad thing. It is exactly what you need. And this is just, again, like, this is why I wanted to share it, because it's like this lens of view just gives us such a more whole organism and patient-centered way to go about it, and a less forceful and a more gentle way of like feeling better. And I think oftentimes, especially with back, especially with disc things, because it feels so horrible and because it is so debilitating, we get in this mode of like, we're going to feel better whether we kill ourselves doing it, right? Like, we inflict so much pain on ourselves or so much pain on our clients in the idea that it will be helpful when it's not at all. It is that is the ego driving the bus. And this is all about letting go of this ego, letting go of this idea that I know best what the body needs and I need to stop its response, versus, nope, its response is exactly what it needs and the body knows what to do. And if I can follow that and go through the steps in a thoughtful way, the body actually changes very quickly. So hopefully this was helpful. A helpful reminder, a helpful like reframe. And like I said, if you're interested in hearing me talk about it more, there's those 4 podcast episodes that I'll have Joe link in the show notes. So Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.